Hi there, and welcome to the Wednesday show presented on the This Is Ibrox network. I'm joined by two fantastic guests, as always. First up is Iain Mitchell. How are you doing today, Iain?
Very good, mate. Yes, always exciting to be on pre-Old Firm, so I'm sure there's quite a lot to get through.
And are you up here? Are you down here? Because I think we all know what Old Firm weeks are like. They're just peaks and troughs, aren't they?
I'm not going to get into it too much right this second, but it's one of those ones that feels a little different to the rest, a little more downbeat than usual, which I'm sure a couple of us might be feeling the same. But I'm sure by the end of this, battle fever on all that kind of stuff will be kicking in. So here we go.
I know that's it, and it's my regular Wednesday buddy, Kyran Wallace. I'm sure everybody's tuning in today to find out who you were holding the door open for today.
Nah, nobody important, unfortunately, and nobody held it for me. So, I had a couple of minutes before we came on here. I actually had a power cut in the house, so I'm quite happy to be here, rather than sitting in the dark with candles and try to find out who I live with.
Aye. That's the other lot that does that, but we'll get on to that later on in the podcast, won't we? But look, as today, as always, there's loads to talk about, especially seeing as there's an Old Firm at the weekend. But we'll begin with getting the guys' thoughts on the sort of events that unfolded after the Kilmarnock game involving Barisic and Butland. There's a new sponsorship deal rumoured to be pretty close with the SPFL. We'll get the guys' thoughts on that. Basically, 5 minutes of just laying into Neil Doncaster, which I'm always happy to do. And there's also news emerging today from some more sources that it looks like Cortes will be at Rangers next year. We'll get the guys' thoughts on the structure of that deal. Is that a good signing? And then there's plenty to be talking about in terms of the Old Firm. That's what we'll dedicate the rest of the podcast to. If you guys have got any thoughts that are tuning in, listening, watching, let us know. But we're going to be covering some of the players. Sima, Ridvan, as Tom Lawrence played his way into a starting position. We'll get the guys' thoughts, and it looks like Ben Davies might be the starting centre-half for that one. Where will Dujon Sterling be playing? Because I think that's the one thing we can agree that he will be playing. Should Rangers be using the opposition manager's comments as motivation? We'll get the guys' thoughts on how we should play against Celtic, and then we'll sort of come to some agreement on a final lineup. But Kyran, look, I'll begin with you. You've got this fun subject to kick us off with today. There was an incident outside the Copeland post Kilmarnock that involved Borna Barisic and then Jack Butland. It appeared the supporter was sort of dishing out some abuse or something like that to both the players for not signing the top. Barisic made it pretty clear that he was signing kids' tops first. Let's just get your opinion on this whole sort of silly situation.
It's just really, really irks me and really, really annoys me real badly, because I love that the club do this. The younger kids and the fans get to make the players, because I can remember when I was young, whether it was at the old training ground, when it was a cricket ground, or when it was outside one of the turrets at the club deck, all the players coming out and meeting them. Honestly, I can remember it like it was yesterday. It was unbelievable getting to meet these guys that are like superheroes to you when you're a wee guy. Now it's adults, which I'm going to presume are trying to cash in with memorabilia, which I think it might annoy a lot of people that watch this, that maybe sell memorabilia or buy memorabilia, but I don't really care. But I don't think that's something that should be done. The club have means and ways and portals which you can send tops in and get them signed if it's for the right causes, but I think there has to be a procedure put in place where players should only be signing things like autograph books and something more or less that can't be sold on, whether it's 50 images of the same player that's been signed over and over again, or tops where it's blatantly obvious that people are going to frame them up and put them on eBay or Vinted or whatever it is, that it's just got completely out of hand, to the point where the club will probably do something about it and the kids will probably suffer, and it shouldn't be like that whatsoever, because it is something that sticks with you for all your life when you meet your heroes off the park. So yeah, I stand firmly with Barisic and Butland on this. Barisic, despite what you think about him on the pitch, has been a fantastic servant to Rangers. And Butland has had one of the best debut seasons I've seen in modern history. And from what I hear, he's outstanding with the youngsters and with the fans and signing stuff. We know he had his family at the game with him at the weekend, and we also knew that he was going to PFA Awards. So there is a reason why he couldn't hang around, and it's understandable. These guys have a life away from Ibrox, believe it or not.
Yeah. No, listen, here to what you said there. It would be such a shame for two clowns, quite frankly, to just ruin it. Imagine being one of the guys that has, as you said, has got things put in place that the players don't come out and sign stuff anymore. Because I could go up my attic and you look at all the programs you've got. There's some belting signings and stuff for some of those players, and you remember speaking to these guys and doing it, and it would just be a shame. So Scott B, I think, sums it up nicely here. He just says it's a fan acting like a child, and that's exactly it. Don't act like a child and let the kids get their stuff signed, and there's no fuss, because quite frankly, after that game's done, Rangers have other things to worry about this week. Look, Ian, you've got the next fun topic to kick us off here. It is all about the new deal that the SPFL has got for a sponsor. Cinch, and God, I hate even saying that, cut their 5-year deal short, which I think shows you everything you need to know about how they felt about that. I think it was the league would have got 4.8 million for 3 years for that. I was looking, I do wonder if that £500,000 agency fee and all the legal fees with Douglas Park's included and been taken off that as well. But it very much looks like William Hill, it's been promoted as this £10 million over 5-year deal, 2 million a season. What do you make of this?
It's just pretty poor again, isn't it? As you say, it's been marketed as this 10 million blockbuster deal, record-breaking deal and all this, but it's 2 million a year, which I think the Cinch deal was like 1.6 million a year. So is that an improvement? Barely. We also had a bit of chat in the WhatsApp group today about what different leagues get and kind of comparisons and stuff, and we're just miles behind. It's miles. It's such a good league on paper in terms of like us and them and that rivalry, and you get Hibs and Hearts and top six thing. There's so much possibility and so much we could do to advertise this, and I think we've been in a really good position to try and do a lot more like club specific stuff. I know a lot of the MLS clubs will do like their own sort of broadcasting rights and regulations and stuff like this. There's so much opportunity, but it just seems like we've done the lazy thing of just seeing who'll give us a little bit more. Oh, that'll do. Done. It's so poor. I don't think other teams, especially, are going to get any real benefit from this. As I say, there could have been their own club-specific deals, which you'd think in time would lead to a bit more income for these guys and try and improve the league standard overall, give them more money. But it's just going to be same old, as far as I can tell with this. And as you say, it's a 5-year deal. It's quite a long time to be stuck in. If you want to kind of get more investment and more revenue, you're not going to get anything different for 5 years now. So, yeah, a little bit mediocre at best for me kind of thing. I was expecting a lot more, and it's just going to be the same old kind of thing.
Yeah, totally agree. Paul here says it should be £10 million per year, and Steve G says Burnley get more for their sleeve sponsor, which is utterly embarrassing. Kieran, I'll ask a similar question to you. Like, I know it's fine for everybody within Scottish football to kick it down and have a bit of a laugh with it, but at the end of the day, like it is a fairly decent product. You look at the last Old Firm game at Ibrox. I had people from all over the place texting me saying, what a game that was. That was the best game of football I've watched in ages. It certainly wasn't from a Rangers point of view. But we have to be doing more to sell our sponsorship more, don't we, basically?
Yeah, between this, the Sky Sports deal, the Cinch deal, the Premier Sports, Viaplay, whatever you want to call it now, it's just been a shambles from start to finish, and I could be here all day talking about how the SPFL and the SFA needs regime change and all the rest of it, but I'll go back to a subject that we were on last week, and that was academy players and how hard it is for teams in Scotland to sort of recruit and hold on to academy players, fighting them off against the English Premiership. I can guarantee you the sort of young blood and academy players coming through in Scotland would increase tenfold if smaller clubs had money in which they could hold on to these guys and pay them a bit more money and convince them to stay up here. But the main money in any league comes from a television deal and sponsorship deals, and there's absolutely nothing up here that helps teams in any way, shape or form. And it comes back again that it's almost like, why wouldn't any team not back Rangers and the other clubs that are behind this independent review to try and get regime change here? It absolutely blows my mind. Are they self-serving? Is that the case for what it is? There needs to be change up here. And again, we've just had another reason why it should be changed.
Yeah, that's that. To be fair, Reese, hello Reese, how you doing? Makes a point there. He says, to be fair, that with the whole Dundee fiasco this season, he says, who, and we'll edit that word out, wants to be associated with that level of shambles?
On that though, like, who wants to be associated with that level of shambles? You're going to do that if you can get away with it. They got away with it for so long until Sky Sports started stamping their feet. So the SPFL and the SFA were quite happy to let them carry on. Now they've been hit with a big fine. They would have been as well doing it in the first place.
Yeah, that's exactly it. It'll be. I was going to say it'll be interesting to see what happens, but it's just just a jokey deal and just another embarrassment associated with Doncaster. And it has to be better, because I cannot think of any other industry, if you had this much like a repeated failure, how you could still be in a job. But anyway, Ian, I'll move on to the next point here. As Colombian journalist, and I know everybody gets excited when you mention Colombia and Rangers players, that is still never changed, but Julian Capera, he is quite a reputable guy. He's tweeted earlier in the week some news with regards to transfers. It says Rangers and Lyon are working on extending the loan of Colombian Oscar Cortes, who has already completed 2 months of recovery after his surgery. The current loan is about to expire, but the new agreement is on the right track. Do you think this is good news?
Very much so. Yeah, I think it's absolute win-win for us. My fear here was that we were going to have to either pay the money, which I think was like 4.2 million, just over 4 million kind of thing, or miss out on him, and we could easily see him go elsewhere and start thriving in another environment kind of thing. Whereas now we've got the loan. I'm pretty sure I'm reading as well, we've got like a fee locked in, stuff like that. So if he does have an incredible season, does well in Europe, it's not going to suddenly be an 12 million kind of transfer. So if he comes here, does well, you sign him for 4 million and we're all happy. Likewise, we've seen loans not go so well. Fabio Silva springs to mind. If it does go a bit pear-shaped or he gets more injuries kind of thing, then we could just kind of cut our losses at that point and his lens problem again. So it's really win-win. I mean, I was excited for Cortes. I liked what I saw from him. I think him getting injured at Kilmarnock has had a major impact on our season, to be honest, especially having to deal with certain players in certain positions and just lacking that actual winger on the wing kind of thing. So, no, I'm more than happy for it. And just hopefully next season he gets a good pre-season, kind of same as Danilo kind of thing, just comes back flying. And for the start of the season, he's good to go. And like I say, I'm quite excited to see him play. So, all good.
Yeah, Steve G here says Cortes on another loan is a no-brainer. Club done well sorting out his surgery, etc. for his parent club. And yeah, I think that's an interesting point there that Steve raises, especially the fact, Kyran, that he was still hanging about and he didn't go back to France. I thought that was a pretty big indication that he felt, welcome. He felt, he had a place here, because I think that he maybe didn't feel that at Lons. But what do you think the sort of best deal for Rangers here is? Is it, as Ian said, a loan with like a locked-in fee to buy? Are we better just buying him outright? Or, is there something else that Rangers will do here? What do you think is the best deal, and are you happy that Cortes looks like he's staying on?
Yeah, I'm absolutely delighted. I think how many times we've sat here and said that the club should do better business and be a bit more savvy in the transfer market. If this deal is structured in a way that it's a loan with an obligation to buy, that if he completes a certain amount of games or a certain amount of minutes, then it triggers that obligation to buy. I think that's an absolute no-brainer. And let's be honest here, we have seen this guy's quality. He's a young player, and it's quite apparent we've watched him for a while. I don't think this was a Niels Coppin one. Unfortunately, I missed the Hearts game at Ibrox when we won 5-0, but watching it on Rangers TV, John Brown had said about watching him when he was at Milanese. So it's obviously the club have had their eye on him for a while and kept their finger on the pulse, and the opportunities come up and we've brought him in, and it now looks like we will get him on a permanent deal eventually if he can stay fit. But you've just got to look at the quality that he gave us. Like that game away to Kilmarnock where he did get injured stood out to me. He was a shining light in that game in the first half where we really had nothing. It was poor. And the Hearts game I spoke about just there, his finish in that game was the finish of a very, very high quality player. Like how many times we've seen someone step onto a ball, hit it first time, and it ends up in the Copeland rear, like straight in the bottom corner. Fantastic finish, and I think he's adored by the fans and what little we've seen of him. So Colombians and Rangers, they just go. It's one of these things, isn't it?
That's exactly it. No, it was when if you remember, Clement was talking about when he came in, all the Colombians that he'd had at previous clubs and stuff like that. And I was like, that's fine. I think this is going to work out well because he's got a reputation of working with club guys at Club Brugge and stuff like that. So yeah, I think this is an absolute no-brainer. And as Scott B in the comments, he says he could be doing with a Cortes on Saturday, and you're no joking there. But listen, that brings me on to my next point. Here, and yeah, for the rest of the podcast we'll basically be talking about the Old Firm, the game at the weekend. I feel like every time I'm on previewing an Old Firm the week before or whatever, we're talking about how it's a massive game, but tell me one that isn't. But I cannot think of a more important Old Firm in the last few years. Kyran, I'll come to you here first. It's a really, really simple question. How are you feeling going into
it? Honest answer is I'm not going to be doom and gloom, right? I'm not going to be doom and gloom. I don't get nervous until the day of the game. I do look forward to these games. It is all part and parcel of being a fan of Glasgow Rangers. For us, it's not been good enough in the Old Firm games. 1 win in our past 13 meetings, and it was the 3-0 at Ibrox when there was nothing really to play for apart from pride. Which is always on the line in an Old Firm game. But do you know something? I think we've been quite unlucky this year with decisions not going our way. Now, we're not going to sit here and cry conspiracy and whatnot, but let's be honest, we've had our fair share of decisions against us, but I can't say that we've played poor in any of the games, really. We have not taken our chances whatsoever. But I do feel that we're due one. Whether it's this Saturday or it's the 25th of May, we're due a win against them this season. A lot of the stuff this weekend comes down to squad selection, and it comes down to who's fit. I think Ross had mentioned in our chat that you guys spotted, was it Sima on the sideline in his tracksuit watching the warm-up at the weekend, which kind of hints that there's maybe a chance he could be fit. It might be a card that Clement's keeping up his sleeve, and that would be a massive boost. But this game, unlike the game at Ibrox, I don't think he can just go with, right, he's carrying an injury, we'll keep him on the bench for this one. I think he's just got to roll the dice completely and start whoever's available for it, because that team that started against Celtic in the last Old Firm game just wasn't good enough, the front line especially. So if Sima's fit, he starts. If Ridvan feels he's good to go, then he starts, and I think that gives us the best chance to get a win there. I think going there, you have to have your best team and a strong team and a team that's on form to get anything. Do I think we're any of them? Unfortunately not, but like I say, we're due one. We can't go this full season without beating them once.
Yeah, I totally agree with you. There's mental that there's only 4 games left of the season, and 2 of them are against Celtic. It's almost like that's a league worth investing in, Kyran, but that's another story for another time. But a couple of comments here. Paul says on Saturday, all depends on the team selection. Just backing up what you said. Sharpie Stone, she says Lawn Screamer to go 1-0 up on Saturday, then Dessers 1 or 2-0. That would be lovely, but we'll see. And then Steve G at the total opposite end of the spectrum says, not expecting miracles. This squad doesn't have it in them to win there, let alone win by 3 goals. Manager will try his best, and that's all we can ask for now. Iain, how are you feeling about the whole thing? And another question on top of that, how should Rangers play? How should they approach this game on Saturday?
So I'm feeling more in the Steve G camp, to be honest. I don't know. I don't know if I'm just building it down so much because I feel like I know what's going to happen, and when it happens, I'll be like, I know it was going to happen, kind of thing. I want to be positive. I want to be saying that we can maybe do this and that can happen, but I just feel like they've hit form at the right time. I don't want to say fallen apart, but we've just not recovered for that Motherwell loss at all. I think Ross has said in a couple of podcasts as well, the Old Firm game, we had to win that. And I think the players thought we had to win that. So when you don't, it just doesn't, I don't get the feeling for these players that they believe, which is a shame. It's obviously madness because really, like, if you look at it from the other angle, these guys are obviously, 4 games away from a treble. They're 4 games away from being heroes. They could be like written in history kind of thing. And you're talking about guys like Dessers, who's, I don't want to say blue hot and cold because that's maybe understating it, but he's been a laughing stock at times this season, and he could walk away as the top scorer in a treble winning team. Guys like Tav, who's been called a serial loser, could walk away with 3 trophies this season. Like just things like that I don't think many people are considering as possibilities. But it's possible. I mean, Fabio Silva, for example, could now go on a run where he scores in every game now, gets some winners, and he's looked at as one of the best loan signings we've ever had. There's so much wild possibilities that could all happen, and I'd be delighted if they do, but I don't have a lot of faith in the players having the confidence. I mean, there's that. I don't know if you guys have seen it. There's the clip, the little preview from last week on Rangers TV when it's like the team that went and won the league at Parkhead all those years ago, and it's like Neil McCann chatting. There's a little part in there from Muscat, and he, paraphrasing here, but he basically says he doesn't care about them or their fans or what they were doing. Just trust in your ability, have confidence in yourself, and go and win. If that's a guy like Kevin Muscat, who I don't think was the main man of that side, but it's obviously that was a mentality that a squad carried through and they all believed it. I don't know if this squad does that, to be honest. I mean, if on Saturday night we win and I'm sitting here looking stupid for these comments, I'll be delighted. So look forward to it. But I just feel like heart of hearts, we've not really got that in the squad to do. In terms of like how we should play and stuff like that, I mean, there's so many options considering we could maybe sit back and look to soak it up. But I don't really see anything else happening other than the team that's we all could kind of pick and it has been playing, like that Silva on the left, Sterling right, Cantwell number 10, and I think that's my main worry in terms of Cantwell being a number 10 and having 2 guys behind him, trying to deal with Celtic's 3 in midfield. And for me, these games are always won and lost in midfield. So if you're kind of starting off with that shape and that mismatch, I guess you could say, numbers-wise, I just don't see us having the control that we would need. If you give Celtic's midfield that control, I can only see it going one way. As super negative as that's going to be.
I thought
sorry,
you were
a mood killer. No.
I thought you were building it up there to being quite positive at the end of that. There, I thought you were sounding vaguely positive, Iain.
I tried my best.
Yeah, you did try. We'll give you that.
That pretty much sounds like our season in a nutshell. Build it right up, then right off a cliff. Here we are.
Should take our chances, aye. Few of the comments in here. RFC56 says first goal will be vital, and couldn't agree more with that. In the last game, that fluky goal totally set the tone. Ross here says can't afford a first half like the last game. Have to compete from the start. They'll be right up for it, and I think they can win the game early. To us to stop them. And Sharpie Staunch here says, need to score first to silence the Chamber of Secrets. And Scott B agrees. He says an early goal would shock them. I think that's what, as Rangers fans, we crave in most games. But Kyran, I'll come to you here. Iain there says, maybe how should we approach this game? Maybe sit back, soak up the pressure. I think you two got a glimpse into my insight into it, because I think I said just fucking press them high in my agenda notes that he's both got sent. That wasn't meant to be in there. That was just meant to stay up here. But that's how I feel about it. But is it more important that Rangers play their own game, or is it more important that we set up to nullify Celtic's strengths?
A bit of both, really. I think we need to stop them. I think both teams have been doing this. Basically, when the ball's dead from the keeper, like try to stop them playing out from the back, from by kicks and pressing high up the field. I think that'll be a common theme that you see from both sides in this game. Going on the theme of the comments there as well, saying that we need to start well and we need to score first. I don't feel in terms of that we need to, of course we need to score first, but I think it's more a case of don't let the game get away from us by half time, because I feel like the last couple of times we've went there, we've been the stronger team the second half in both games. So if we're still well in this by half time and we're not chasing, then I do feel that we could come out and be confident about getting a result in the second half. But not letting the game get away from us is the most important thing in the first half. But in terms of how we set up, I think we need to stop being forceful. I think if you look at our game at the weekend there, first half was food and drink to Kilmarnock, us playing lateral passing out to the wide man and throwing him from deep crosses, them just heading the ball away. And that's just how Kilmarnock set up. Now, you look at the second half, it was a lot of trying to pass through the lines, building up 1-2s, a lot more sort of penetration with the ball towards their back line without being forceful, and it was night and day, both halves. So one thing I will say as well, and as much as I was absolutely raging from that celebration from Silva at the weekend, I feel that when Ridvan Yilmaz came on, Silva became a different player for the reason that their fullback was occupied by Ridvan, which opened up a lot of space deeper for Silva to then sort of run at players and get on the ball in dangerous areas where he was isolated one-on-one, more with their wide midfielder as opposed to their fullback. Whereas I felt that, see, when he was on with Barisic doesn't give you that option going forward. He'll make the run, but he'll stop knowing that a deep cross is fine for him. Not hitting the byline. He'll rarely hit the byline there, and the fullback will have an easy game, where it just left Silva so isolated. So for me, in terms of game plan and what we do, I think a lot of it, again, like the last game against them, rides on if Ridvan Yilmaz can start the game.
Yeah, that's certainly one of my points. So we'll come on to later, because it's fascinating whether or not, because we saw him in that wee 30-minute cameo towards the end against Kilmarnock. Is he going to be fit enough? What would we play him? But listen, the way I was going to do this was do it logically and start off with the defence and start off in the midfield and go to the forwards. But everybody's talking about the midfield in the comments. So Paul here says midfield needs to be one. Simple Ross says have to be aggressive in the midfield, stop them playing in there, and we've got a great chance. Both fullbacks can be exposed too. And Aldo RFC says battles in midfield. Talking about Kyogo and that he always runs our defence in circles. But yeah, I'll the first question I'll ask you. Lundstrom seems to be getting mentioned a lot in the comments. I think we could see him as sort of one of Clement's generals. I will be surprised if he doesn't start at the weekend. But I mean, people around about me at Ibrox and speaking to lots of Rangers supporters, they have certainly been frustrated with him in recent weeks. Is he done enough for starting for you?
Yes, to be honest. I think he gets a bit of a raw deal, if I'm being completely frank. I don't think it's Lundstrom's job for us to win games. I do think he comes way too deep, way too often. It just sort of unbalances things a little bit. But I think that's him trying to be the guy who's taking the ball and trying to make things happen, not hiding kind of thing. I've saw a lot on Twitter about how Raskin should come in. Sorry, Raskin, if Ross is watching. Should come in and play instead of Lundstrom, but you don't bring a guy in for the cold like that for a game like this. Just madness for me. He's rightly or wrongly, he's one of the first names in the team sheet. He's one of Clement's generals, as you say. He's the main man in there, kind of thing. I think it could be a big game for him. We obviously need him to be on form. We need him to be a protector of that back four, because as the comments said there, Kyogo's got this horrible habit for us of just pulling away from the centre backs and going in behind. Does it time and time again to us. So if you've got someone like Lundstrom who's maybe keeping an eye on that, helping Suter and Davies, who I'm pretty sure it's going to be, helping them out with that, it could be key. And it then allows guys like Diomande, Cantwell to be a bit more forward thinking, take sort of the burden of defending off them kind of thing. But now he's one of the first names in the team sheet for me, which is probably going to get a bit of hate in the comments, but I like Lundstrom still. So.
No, surprisingly enough, a couple of people have agreed with you from before, Ian. So if you never know, it might be the same in this. But yeah, let us know your thoughts on John Lundstrom in the comments in there. Kyran, the next player I'll come on to talk about, especially in that central midfield role, and I think he may be the most important player on the park at the weekend from a Rangers point of view, and that's Mohamed Diomande. Apart from that brief stint where he was out with his injured thumb or finger or whatever it was, I think he's been one of the shining lights and crazy. we've got a League Cup in the bag and the Scottish final, and we're 3 points behind the league leaders with a game still against them to play, and I'm still saying it's been a relatively poor season. But Mohamed Diomande's been fantastic. I thought he was maybe a wee bit rabbit in headlights in the first the game at Ibrox. You look like you're not agreeing with me on that one, but now he's had a bit of experience with that there. Do you think that will stand him in good stead? Because as I said, I think he's going to be pivotal to how we play at the weekend.
Yeah, no, I do agree with you. I really do agree with you. I think back to sort of guys, we compared Diomande a lot to Kamara, and we compared Diomande a lot to guys like Aribo, sort of tall, slight figure, very good on the ball, technically outstanding, can carry the ball well, very much like the guys. But if you think back, I think Aribo's debut at Neil Firm, he was hooked at half-time. Kamara, possibly the same as well. Both didn't fare well in these fixtures until they got a few under their belt. So I think we really need to cut Diomande a wee bit of slack for his performance in the last Old Firm game, because he's up against a very good midfield there. Hatate, O'Reilly and McGregor are a nailed-on midfield for them, and they do complement each other very well, something which I think we need to look to build going into next season, that we get three midfielders or a midfield two that can complement each other well. Now, one thing I would say about Diomande is that him and Cantwell link up well. I feel that there's been a lot of chatter around, should we start Cantwell or this lust to play Sterling in centre mid. I will be shocked if Sterling plays at centre mid. I do like the idea, right? I'm not shooting that down, but let's look at it this way. Sterling played in the middle for the second time ever against Aberdeen in the League Cup final. I think he was dropped to the bench the game after it. Am I right in saying that?
Yeah, I think so.
I may be right in saying as well that we've not seen him centre mid since then.
No.
So it's a good idea. I loved seeing him there in his man of match performance against Aberdeen in the League Cup final, but I just can't see it happening. In the middle, it does remind me of Maurice Edu in terms of maybe not great technically, maybe he's not going to pass a team off the pitch, but he's an athlete that gets all over the field. He's strong in his tackle and he breaks up play well. Maybe that is what we need at Parkhead, but like I say, I'll be stunned if I see it. So for me, it's got to be Lundstrom, Diomande and Cantwell in there, and it's just, again, for Diomande, it's just another string for his bow, another Old Firm under his belt, and I really hope he sets it alight, because he's the type of guy that can get us up the field and carry the ball, and ball carriers are really, really important in games like this, and it's something I feel that we've been missing for a long time.
Yeah, I think that's fair. I'll come back to something you've said maybe on my next point, because I mean, obviously, I was cutting my grass earlier on, and I was thinking about, who should we be playing? Is this, like, as I mentioned earlier, is this a game that Rangers should be trying to stifle Celtic's strengths? But, in terms of a couple of comments that come in here, it says Diomande is the only player that looks forward in midfield. Lundstrom, Cantwell and Silva are like three men down. And Scott B here says, unfortunately, Lundstrom will play, so I think Looney, Dio and Sterling in the midfield three. Ian, keen to get your thoughts on. I'll ask you about two players here. I think Kieran's already sort of firmly nailed his colours to the mast and who he wants to start, but it's Todd Cantwell, who I think's been not brilliant in previous Old Firm games, apart from that last one at Ibrox. I think he gets targeted and gets very, lost in the occasion, so to speak. I think it's time for him to show up if he does start. But the other one for me is Tom Lawrence. I thought when he came on against Kilmarnock, he was brilliant. I know it was against 10-man Kilmarnock. I know they were tiring, but that goal for me was a real good quality goal. Is Tom Lawrence played his way into contention for starting at the weekend?
Not for me. I think what makes that little balance so good is that you have Cantwell start games, run about, get in people's faces, be a bit of a nuisance to players, and just tire sort of that area of the pitch out, whether it's like centre backs or defensive mids kind of thing, and then you bring Lawrence into that, whereas he can kind of exploit tiredness, and he's probably got a bit more quality to have shots and to make an assist kind of thing. I don't think you go to Parkhead with both on the pitch. I think that'd be kind of suicide, to be honest. And likewise, I just think Cantwell gives you a bit more legs in there. I know he played last year at Parkhead and was pretty invisible for most of the game, but I think he was so focused there on trying to man mark Callum McGregor that McGregor's a bit too smart on the day and just kind of moved into smart places and pretty much took Cantwell out of the game, whether we were in or out of possession. So that's why I said earlier I'm not too keen on him playing as number 10, but I would still have him playing. It's a bit of a foresight in the team that I'm going to play if it was my selection. But I know Lawrence came on and, like you said, done really well and got a good few shots away, which is something as a team we just don't do enough of. But I think he is a perfect guy to bring on with 20 minutes to go if you're needing like a goal or needing some more creativity up there. But Cantwell starts over Lawrence all day for me anyway.
That's interesting. Sorry, I missed that.
I was just going to say, I don't think Lawrence has the legs to compete with the midfield that Celtic have from the start anyway. I just think it'd be a bit uncomfortable with you.
Yeah, no, I think that's fair comment. I think I always see Tom Lawrence as a player that could maybe now come on towards the end of a game when teams are tiring like that. When he was brought on against Kilmarnock, ironic enough, again, that was a chat around me in the club deck, is that somebody was saying that his Clement's subs are awful. We'll maybe come on to that if we get time, but I disagreed with that, and it was really, really hard to prove against that point when Lawrence and Ben Davies, two of the subs, had scored 2 of the goals. But moving on. Kyran, I'll come to you. You've already sort of touched on it here, but I was thinking that I would play Dujon Sterling in the centre of the midfield. Let us know in the comments what you think about that, where you would play Big Duj. But the reason I am saying that he should be playing in that centre midfield is I think he would be an excellent foil, an excellent nullifier against McGregor in that the centre of the field, because every single Old Firm game that we come away from, every single time, you hear about the opposition's results and stuff like that, it is Callum McGregor controlled that game, and if you stop Callum McGregor, there's a potential to stop them. Discuss.
I think the Callum McGregor conundrum comes down to more who's in the 10. Right, you're not going to see Dujon playing up as high as McGregor in terms of that. So then you're probably looking at Diamande if Dujon plays in the middle. So for me, that's why I'm still Cantwell in there. I feel like Cantwell's best game in an Old Firm game came doing that job on Callum McGregor, the 3-0 game at Ibrox. I just feel he's not really been given the chance to replicate that again. I know he had a poor game at Parkhead the last time over there, but I feel like he's going to have a point to prove. I felt we were a better team when he came on the last Old Firm game at Ibrox. And I just feel that it's still the best option for me. Now, I'm not totally against Sterling in the middle because I do feel that we're very soft as a team. We get bullied quite a lot by the lesser teams in the league, which really annoys me as well. I remember years ago, and it was probably very much like the Maida v Tav in the last game, Bobby Petta versus Rickson, where Rickson was hooked in the first half and Petta was made to look like a world beater. The next time they came to Ibrox, Claudio Reyna get played at right back, and I will always remember the first half of that game, and it was Reyna just letting Petta know he was there, and never seen him for the rest of the game. Can I honestly say we've got someone in the team that would do a job like that? No, No, I really can't. You just don't see it with this team. I can't remember the last time they sort of put it about the way that other teams put it about with us. And I really think that you need... I know that sounds very like hammer throwing, sort of, I don't know, like pure old school Scottish football, but you do need a bit about you in games like that. You do need to be up to the dark arts right through it, and I just don't think we have enough of that. Some of Walter Smith's teams would go out and kick teams up and down the pitch and come away with 1-0 victories and some of the ugliest performances you've seen, and you need to have that bit about if you want to win leagues. But one thing I will say is that whoever loses this game at the weekend doesn't deserve to win the league. We are pretty much shit out of form, and we've not been good for a while, and they will really fancy themselves in this game, and I think they'll be really upset if they don't beat us. On the other hand, could it swing the psychological pendulum back to us if we do win it, knowing that they need to go to Kilmarnock on the Wednesday night, and we're the only team to have beaten Kilmarnock since Christmas?
Yeah. Twice.
yeah, that's pretty much the bottom line of it at the moment.
Yeah, it'll be fascinating, the connotations if we do end up winning this game, because I always go back to when Rangers were going for 10 in a row, and I think it was Ian Ferguson that was said it's just he's like, you do not, unless you're in that environment as a professional footballer, you do not know what pressure can do to you, because you're just you're consuming it. That's all you're thinking about. But earlier on, asked in the comments, where do you think Sterling should play? Davey P here says, I go Sterling in the midfield. We need to get legs in there. Lundstrom has none. Scott B says Sterling's a machine all over the pitch, but need him in centre mid. And Chris Cherry says Sterling or centre mid to run overs. By the way, I haven't looked at those comments, Kyran, just in case you're wondering before I brought them up there.
My only thought with that is, are we a stronger team with McCausland at right wing and Cantwell on the bench, as opposed to Cantwell in the 10 and Sterling on the right wing? I think I like the idea of Sterling on the right wing as well. He tends to win a lot of balls high up the field. We've seen that with the offside goal with Dessers. How many times have I seen that? Said that the Lundstrom goal at the weekend where Sterling wins the ball high up the field. He's got that in his locker, and I think that could be a very useful tool in a game where we're going to press them high and they're going to try and play out through their fullbacks.
See if you think of stopping them kind of thing, which obviously we know they're going to have most of the ball and try and get a fast start. The biggest worry, I think, for most of us is Maeda being fit and starting against Tav. We just know Tav can't handle him. It gets in his head. It just doesn't work. So if you're looking at Sterling, for me, you're trying to think of, where is Sterling going to help Tav more? Because it's that kind of Ryan Jack role he used to do, where he would play centre mid, but he would just drift in, help Tav out, let Tav go forward, and Jack would be sitting there kind of waiting to cover kind of thing. So I would be thinking, is Sterling better at doing that from centre mid and moving across and helping? Or is it better doing that from right midfield and just dropping back? So that's probably Clement's biggest threat. I mean, I know we don't want to sit and go, what are Celtic going to do? Let's us be the kind of attacking side, let's us trouble them. But we need to realise that Maeda is a nightmare, we'll say. And just Tav, I don't really know, I love Tav. I just don't think he can handle him. So for me, I'm thinking, where's Sterling going to help him best here and try and build around that side, at least for the first 30, 40 minutes of the game, make sure we're in it till half time at least.
If only we had two Dujon Sterlings, eh?
If only we had two right backs on the right side of our team.
Yeah.
I've heard a lot of people saying, like Tav's best attributes are his offensive attributes. Why don't we play him further forward now? A lot of people have said it, and I'm just repeating what other people have said here, but probably not. But in the case that there is a right back playing at right mid in front of him, playing a guy like Sterling with a hell of a lot of pace against somebody like Maeda might not be the worst idea.
Yeah, no, listen, I can totally see it. William here's with an interesting suggestion. He says play Sterling in at right back for the first 20 minutes. I don't know how I feel about that, but it was when you go.
I love that we've been on this for 43 minutes and we've had Sterling at right back, right wing, right centre.
I know.
We've also had what is it? A screenshot of a team that he played in a Chelsea Youth Cup final up front today. So, Jesus Christ, man.
That's what I was saying to Ian before we came on live. I was saying that if when Butland does go, I'm not going to be worrying about it too much because we'll just punch Sterling in goals and it'll be quality in there as well, so it'll be fine. But yeah, I'm coming back to it, Bluebell, so don't you worry. Oh, not that one. But that's a regular comment. You see, what's Kyran talking about? But Bluebell says PC needs to change things up, drop the dross, play people in their best positions, and Sterling must play in centre midfield along with Dio. It's for me. The reason I'm saying that is he has been one of our best players this year. I'm surprised he wasn't on that shortlist for Player of the Year, to be honest with you. But it's that's where we need. That's where we always get overpowered, and that's where it's normally winning the Old Firm games. So I'll be playing. I can totally see it. Listen, we'll come on to a slightly more simpler subject. Again, God, time's really creeping up on us, so I'll kind of lump these two players together, Ian, as well, even though they play in different positions. But you'll get the gist of what I'm talking about. We know that Ridvan Yilmaz is not fully fit. We did see him for 30 minutes at the end, as we sort of alluded to. They are the guys who were on the gantry covering the game for us at weekend. So Sima standing at the side of the pitch, fully kitted, or not in his tracksuit, I should say. Are you going to risk it? Are you going to play the both of them, even if I'm not fully fit?
I would probably say Sima no, because he's just coming like. You run that risk that he starts the game and straight away he's injured kind of thing. I think with Ridvan, you've got a bit more security that he's lasted 20, 25 minutes there. He's had another full week of training. And to be honest, Ridvan with no knees, I'd probably still start ahead of Barisic at Parkhead. So Ridvan gets the start for me all day. Sima-wise, I think our best bet is to try and kind of keep the game even, keep it tight. When it gets to that hour, sort of 65-minute mark, that's when I'd look at bringing Sima into the game. Obviously, it's risky. We could be 2 down by that point, and we've kind of flung it away. And your comment at the start saying just play your best team makes total sense. But I feel like looking at formations and who should play where, having Sterling on the right, as we've kind of talked about a few times, gives Tav that help Maeda. And then if you do need to go for the goal towards the end, you've got a guy like Sima coming on who we know has scored against Celtic. We know is a bit of a powerhouse, especially against someone like Taylor. I'm pretty sure he could dominate him for all he wants. And it just gives such a good attacking threat for us to come off the bench. Whereas if you look at the Kilmarnock game, our bench just, for me, had nothing. Like, I know it's kind of stupid saying that now that Tom Lawrence came on and scored, Davies came on and scored, McCausland came on and got an assist, technically, for Lawrence's goals. So they did all contribute. But I would want to have a bench that you can look at and go, right, there's 2 or 3 options there that can change this game and win this for us. Because I know people are saying we need to win 3-0 to go top of the league kind of stuff, but a 1-0 win with them going to Kilmarnock and us having Dundee, it blows everything wide open. So if we can just nick it at the end, that's perfect for me. So I'd start Ridvan, see how much he can give you. If he can only give you 60, 70 minutes, then fair dues. But Sima-wise, I'd have the opposite effect and try and bring him in to like snatch that late chance at the end kind of thing.
Ian, were you hinting at Sterling at left back there for the rest of the game?
Wherever he needs to go. If he's centre back, left back, it's Sterling. He'll cover.
Put him down for that too.
Well, that's it. No, there's a couple of interesting comments here. Paul here says Ridvan starts. Willie Henderson himself says, I'd rather have an unfit Ridvan than Barisic, and I think we can all agree with that. William Flint says Ridvan yes, Sima no, which is interesting because I think Sima, the few games he's played against him, especially the last game at Parkhead, I thought he gave Johnson an absolute torrid time down that left-hand side. And M1872 says Sterling and Yilmaz at fullbacks, which is pretty interesting. Let Tim's worry about Tav and Sima start as you want to be chasing and Matondo for 30. I'm not even sure Matondo's even in the conversation for being fit about it. Yeah, look, the next aspect we'll come on to, we've talked about, seeing as we're talking about Sima, we'll talk about the wingers. Kyran, you know, I'm looking at some of these wingers here. Fabio Silva, he scored at the weekend, as you sort of alluded to. He gave a bit of a snash to the fans. You know, somebody from inside his camp saying it was aimed at the media, blah, 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 blah. I know I'm absolutely not convinced by that. But in terms of wingers, what are you doing? Are you playing Sima if he's fit? Are you playing Silva there? Are you bringing in McCausland? I can't even believe I'm saying this, but it's a podcast, so I've got to ask the question. Are you bringing in Scott Wright? And if Matondo's fit, are you playing him as well?
Let me think. If Sima's fit, right? If Sima's fit, I'm playing him through the middle. I'm playing Silva on the left. I think that in order to get joy against them, you need to have pace going in behind. Dessers doesn't have that. I think in the big occasions, although Dessers is coming on to a wee bit of form, I just feel that in the big occasions, you don't know what Cyril Dessers is going to turn up, whether it's the one in a purple patch or where it's the one that looks like the arse end of a donkey. Like, I would go with Sima through the middle. I feel that his pace getting in behind would cause a lot of problems, but like, this is all hypothetical. He might not even be fit. So I'm saying that presuming he is fit. On the right, I would have Sterling on the right, and I would have Silva on the left. Silva still has quality, albeit he might not be the flavour of the month. To me, he could have mooned the fans for all I care, as long as he does the business on Saturday. So I actually thought it was a really good finish. I thought it was an excellent finish from the Lundstrom cross at the weekend from Silva.
Yeah.
And I said at the top of the show, with Ridvan Yilmaz playing, Silva has a lot more space to do what he needs to do. And we talk about ball carriers and we talk about Diamande carrying the team forward. Silva's a very good ball carrier. Look at the Dessers goal that was chopped off against them at Ibrox.
Yep.
That all comes from Silva picking up the ball deep and running at them, and it put the fear of God into them. Maybe, just maybe, this is the game that he adheres himself to the fans as opposed to the game at the weekend.
Yeah, but as with every answer, it'll be so fascinating to see what happens here. Paul here actually raises a good point. He says, Kyle, this is a serious question. He says, who's a better player, Silva or Lawrence? It's Lawrence all day long, so play him out left. And it'd be fascinating. The one thing I think we can all agree on as Rangers supporters is we need to do something slightly different, something that we're not expecting. So if we're not expecting it, they're not expecting it. We're looking to cause a bit of, and the manager's referenced this before, he likes to cause chaos, and I think that is ideally what we need to go over there and do. And hopefully chaos is an early goal. But look, let's two last wee sort of areas I'm going to talk about. I'll come to you first here, Ian. We'll go right back to the centre halves. Again, there's so many comments coming. I think it's Bluebells Are Blue. He says Balogun isn't ruled out for those talking. Davies a start again. I'm sure we'll hear that in Friday's news. But I actually thought I'm not, very critical of Ben Davies. I actually think there's a good player in there. I know he's maybe a bit nonchalant on the pitch, and that's what maybe gets him a bit of the reputation that he does. But I think he is a pretty good defender. Okay, he had that one duff pass in the first half, but that was in the second half. But like, if Balogun is fit, who's your preferred centre back pairing?
I think I'm still...
Oh, sorry.
Sorry, I thought you said come to me. Was it Ian?
I'll go Ian, sorry. That was my bad.
Age before Ian.
No, I'm with you, Kyle. I'm not going to say I like Ben Davies because I don't know if he's quite cut out to be a Rangers player. I don't know what that means exactly, but he's just not quite got that side of it for me. But as a footballer, as a technical ball-playing centre-back, I think he's pretty good. I know he had that one moment at Parkhead, which everyone just sadly remembers, but I think the balance of having Suter right centre-back, Davies left centre-back, just a more natural, it just looks better, it plays better, it feels better, and I think the difference first half and second half against Kilmarnock it wasn't down to the centre-backs, to be honest. Like, I'm not going to say it was that obvious, but it just helped us build a bit more naturally, and it just, I think he offers a bit more better like passing range, and I think we're going to probably give up most of the ball on Saturday, so when we do have the ball, we make use of it. And Balogun for me is a bit more just get rid of it kind of defender. I know he's got a decent pass in him kind of thing, but regardless of whether Balogun's fit or not, I would probably now be starting Davies. Again, it could come back to bite me if what happens with him and Suter at Parkhead last time happens again, but I think it's worth going for at this point. We know that Celtic aren't the biggest team, so you don't so much need Balogun's like sheer power. Like, I know he's obviously 6'6" or something, he's going to win most headers, but that's not how Celtic play. Like, they're going to be playing short, sharp passing and around the centre-backs, and hopefully Davies has got a bit more guile to sort of deal with that. and like I say, start up attacks a little bit better for us. So I'm having Davies and Suter in there.
Yeah, that I mean, no spoilers here, but that would be my my choice of centre back pairing as well. The reason for that, I've been banging on about this in a lot of Wednesday podcasts, and it's I felt what's been lacking in our team selections has been that balance. It's looked lopsided on each side of the pitch. Okay, I know that Fabio Silva's not an out and out winger. I know that who else played in the wing that game? Sterling is not an out and out winger, but everybody else is playing in their natural positions, and you could tell that. Kyran, I'll come to you here last for this. It's up front. I think we're all sort of assuming it's going to be Dessers playing up front. I think that's the way we've been chatting amongst the three of us as well, that Dessers will be playing up front. But I've seen a few shouts for saying JB in our chat, in the TII WhatsApp chat earlier on, was saying Roof up front. I've seen a few people saying 4-4-2. Maybe that's the type of change that we need to go to. I cannot see Clement taking that risk though and changing it to 4-4-2. But what's your thoughts on Roof featuring, and will he be an important sub at some point? And or do you think that we should be playing with two up front in this game?
I'm a massive fan of Roof. I've never been shy in saying that. It's just a wee bit disappointing how things have panned out for him. Great substitute to bring on. I can't see him starting whatsoever. I'm not Dessers' biggest fan. He's a real enigma, and I think I said it as well. He's either going to win as a league or he's going to lose as a league. There's no in between there. Would I start Roof? If it was up to me, yes. But can I see it happening? No, not at all. But good to come off the bench. I don't think I would go two up front in this one, just for the sheer fact that we need to combat them in the middle. But that doesn't mean that we shouldn't be pressing as a 4-4-2. I feel that the most joy that we got in that 3-2 game when we were there under Beale, we had a lot of joy pressing as a 4-4-2, and maybe that's something that could be looked at now. I know you touched on radical change, Kyle, but I feel in managers in games like these just seem to play it safe. They go tried and tested and try and get the guys to stick to the plan as much as possible. I can't see radical change in this game. I can't just see us like trying something different. Unfortunately not. I'd like to see it. I certainly would like to see something a bit different. A few folk have touched on, could we go a 3-5-2 as in a 5-3-2 defensively? That's an option. I'm all for seeing Dessers and Roof up front at some point, but I just don't think this is a game for it.
Yeah, there's a few comments coming here. Steve G says it'll be the same formation, maybe slight tweaking tactics, same starting 11 except for Davies, Balogun and Ridvan for Barisic. Davy P says, think if we go Dess as a solo striker, it's a waste of time. I can already see him being isolated up front. And M1872 says Dessler wasn't lucky to get his goal chopped off. I know that, yes, absolutely crazy that there. But listen, I think that just about wraps up. Before we go, let's get team lineups from the both of you. Ian, I'll come to you first.
So is this what we want or what we think will happen?
Let's go for what you want.
Excellent. That's always funner. So Butland, of course, in goal. Ridvan, Davies, Suter and Tav. I would play a sort of flat three in front of them. That's going to be Lundstrom just sort of sitting in front of the centre-backs, Diomande to his left, and then Raskin to his right. Raskin's not going to be in a lot of people's starting lineups, but if you look at his best games...
Didn't even talk about him.
I know, but it's more like his best games have always been away, kind of tricky situations in Europe a couple of times. I just think he offers a lot better press than anyone else can offer in our team. Like I said, I know he's going to come in for the cold, so it's not going to happen, but that's what I'd be having. And then I'm going to have a front three with Cantwell on the left, Sterling on the right to help Tav, and Silva up front, because Silva and Cantwell work better together. Like I say, it's never ever going to happen, but that's I know Dessers is going to play, and I know that he might win as a game kind of thing, but the fact that he needs 3, 4, 5 chances to get a goal, we're not going to get 3, 4, 5 chances to get that goal for me. So I'd put Silva up there. I'm not saying he's the goal scorer we've all been waiting for, but that's just the team I'd be throwing out there. Again, it's not going to happen, but that's what I'd be going for.
That's it. That would certainly be the radical change that I was alluding to earlier on. Kyran, fascinated to hear your team lineup as well.
So the team I want, I'm going to go Clausen, goals, Perini, right back, Amoroso, Miller, centre back.
God, I wish.
They won 3-0 there. Let me think. I would be going from what's available, right? From what's available, we're going Butland and goals, right back, Tav, left back, Ridvan, centre backs, Suter and Davis. I'm on board with this. Davis being left-footed, feeding Ridvan a wee bit more, bringing Silva into the game. In the middle of the field, I'm going Diamande, Cantwell and Lundstrom. On the right, Sterling. On the left, Silva, and through the middle, Sima. Not too far from what we might end up with, but I just feel pace kills them. Look at Sakala last year. Not the greatest football player. Caused him a lot of problems, but couldn't finish his dinner, unfortunately.
Oh, by the way, that's a shout I've been crying for all season is for Sima to be playing through the number 9. It was like Malik Tillman was my loan signing that should have been playing through the number 9 last year, and Sima's been at, and I'd love it. I think he would excel in that position with his pace, his physicality, and his finishing's pretty good as well.
Sima terrorised us through the middle himself for Slavia Prague.
Yeah, and that was a big. I know that was with Goldson and big Phil Hollander at the back as well, they weren't bad players.
Tom Com's Twin Towers, as he named them.
Yeah. No comment after that. But right, let's get some of the watchers team lineups here. And by the way, Paul, I've had this saved since about 5 minutes when you put this comment in, so don't worry, it's coming up. Butland, Tav, Suter, Davies, Ridvan, Sterling, Lunny, Diomande, Lawrence left, Cantwell right, and Dessers. Let me scroll down and get these other ones.
Very like
here.
Gerrard in Europe, that team, innit? It's like that 4-3, the double tens thing.
I quite like that, though.
I'm not against it.
Like that.
I'm not against it.
Yeah, it's a good idea. Scott B says Butland, Tav, Suter, Davies, Ridvan, Sterling, Diomande, Lundstrom, Lawrence, Sima, and Silva. He's going with you, Kyran. And Davy P here says, I just tried to pick a team there and I couldn't. I don't envy Clement, but that's exactly why he gets paid the big bucks. 2 more, seeing as we're going through them all. Stevie G says Butland, Sterling. And the Bluebells are blue. Says Jack Butland, Ridvan, Davies, Suter, Tav, Sterling, Dio centre mid, Lawrence left, Cantwell 10, McCausland right, Dessers up front. And realistically, this is the best we can do. I'm not even going to ask you for score predictions because I'm always superstitious about these things for an old firm. But listen, I just want to say thank you to the both of you for joining me. So thanks very much for joining us tonight, Kyran.
Always a pleasure. Thanks for having me.
No bother. And thanks very much as well, Iain.
Cheers, man. I feel like I'm looking forward to the game a bit more now, actually. So this has been quite therapeutic.
Yeah, no, listen, I wasn't feeling too positive before it, like a lot of Rangers fans, but now I'm feeling positive. Somebody said to me earlier on in the week, like we've actually played quite well in all the games that we've played against them this season. He was going, this will be the game that we'll play absolute rubbish and we'll win it. So that's what I'm clinging on to at the minute. But just want to say thanks everybody for tuning in and watching as always. If you don't know, if you want to help support the channel, there's 5 things you can do. It's just give us a comment, give us a like, give us a share, subscribe, and enable notifications. But until the next time, whoever that'll be, I'm sure there'll be a post-match reaction Saturday, win, lose, or draw, as always with This Is Ibrox. But take care, and we'll see you all again then.